Welcome back to my channel, and for those of you that are new, my name is Marissa, also known as Homemaking with Marissa. Today's video is going to be part one in a series that I will be doing throughout 2023 on my channel. I wanted to focus at the beginning of 2023 on creating habits that were actually going to stick. If you have been following my channel for a while, you know that I've done morning routines and evening routines. I am very good about developing a system. What I am not great about is sticking to a system. I have historically had an all or nothing mindset. I am either working out 6 days a week or I'm not working out at all. And I wanted to find a way in 2023 to strike a balance. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. I have read the book Atomic Habits. I've talked about it in a separate video on my channel. My main takeaway from that book was to make the good habits easy and the bad habits difficult. If you want to stop watching TV, take the batteries out of the remote so that you have to physically go find the batteries and put them in to turn on the TV. If you want to eat healthier, meal prep healthy food so that it's easily available. The first habit that I wanted to focus on in 2023 was reading. Now, this video is not going up until March. I started this habit in January. What I decided was that I was going to pick one habit each month instead of having that standard mindset that you have at the beginning of the year where you want to do everything all at once. You're going to eat healthy, you're going to work out, you're going to read, you are going to stop scrolling, you're going to drink 16 gallons of water a day, whatever it is that you have this fantasy version of yourself that you're going to do. A lot of people try to implement all of that at once on January 1st. And I've done that in the past, but I decided that I was going to take bite-sized chunks throughout the entire year. I was going to take one habit in January and implement that habit, making sure that it was something that I could sustain throughout the entire year. In February, I was going to add a new habit, making sure that it's something that I was able to sustain throughout the entire year. So for January, I decided that I was going to increase the amount of reading that I would do and decrease the amount of scrolling that I would do. I have always enjoyed reading, but it is not something that I have prioritized. In order to increase the amount of reading, there are two things that I have done. And I will say that I am filming this video on February 21st. So
I found this on the web.
8 weeks into the year, and I have already finished reading 9 books. So averaging over 1 book per week. And keep in mind, I work, I have 3 children, I'm married, I am the primary caretaker for the house throughout the day, and I wear a lot of hats. So I'm not able to just sit around with a book all day reading at my leisure. However, if I wanted to increase the amount of reading, I decided that I would create 2 systems throughout the day that were checkpoints of when I was going to read. One was in the car. Now, audiobooks is something that I had explored before on Amazon. We had an Audible subscription, but I found that I would only pick books that were long because I felt like it was a better value, and not necessarily picking based solely on what I wanted to listen to, but more on getting a good deal. It was brought to my attention that our library pairs with 2 separate apps that are completely free. All I had to do was go into the library and they were able to take my library card and set it up for me. I entered in my library card, create a username and a password, and my library, I think, lets you check out 10 books per month per app for free. The 2 apps that I am using are Libby and Hoopla, and I have found that these 2 apps, for whatever reason, do have different book options, and sometimes when something is not available on Libby, I'm able to find it on Hoopla and vice versa. it is worth exploring whether or not your library offers a program like this. Now, having access to the audiobook is one thing. I needed to develop a system that I could stick with that would allow me to listen to these audiobooks. I found that it is important to me and my kids that I get to the carpool line early to pick them up. Their school's a little bit chaotic, and getting a good spot in the carpool line requires you to get to the school early. But I did not want to be one of those parents that just sat in the car, glazed over, scrolling on my cell phone, looking at Instagram for 45 minutes while I waited for the kids to get out of school. I wanted to find a way to make this a beneficial use of my time. Every single day, Monday through Friday, I have decided that I am going to listen to an audiobook on the way to the carpool line while I'm sitting in the carpool line. And then as soon as the kids get into the car, I transition it to, we actually listen to instrumental Disney music every day after school, but I transition it to our instrumental Disney music and hand them their snacks, and then we drive home. This has given me about an hour every day that I am able to listen to an audiobook uninterrupted. In addition to listening to this audiobook, unrelated, but in addition, I also set my phone up as a wireless hotspot and I work from the car on my laptop. So I'm able to get not only an hour worth of reading done in that time, but I'm also able to get an hour worth of work for my day job done. Second thing that I have done to increase the amount of reading is to transition to reading at night instead of scrolling at night. It was a difficult habit for me to break, to not sit on my phone and scroll. For the first 6 weeks of the year, I would leave my cell phone charging in the living room and wouldn't even have it near my bed. I go to bed very early. Typically we're in bed around 7:30, and I would find that I would just sit there for an hour mindlessly scrolling, garnering no benefit. And also it's very stimulating to be looking at the light right before going to bed. And when you go to bed early, you don't want everything to be firing off in your brain right before going to sleep. So I took my phone, it charges in the living room. I don't look at it or deal with it until morning. Instead, I have a physical paper book that I read before bed every single night. I do have the Hatch Restore alarm clock, which if you're not familiar with that, it's a sunset and sunrise alarm clock that has a ton of different features. I am able to program on my phone. Now, you do not need to buy a fancy alarm clock in order to implement this system, but this is what I've done. I have programmed it so that there is a reading light that comes on for 20 minutes every single night. Then it transitions to a sunset with classical music playing. Every night, I turn on the alarm clock, I read for the 20 minutes, and then typically it transitions to the sunset, and I'm able to finish up my page, finish up my chapter before putting the book down and then going to sleep for the evening. And it really was that simple. I added these 2 habits in my day, things that I wasn't eliminating anything of value. Sitting in my car and scrolling, not something that I am missing out on. Plenty of other opportunities throughout the day that I can scroll on my phone if I want to, and implementing reading every night before going to bed. This is going to be different for every single person, but if you can find these pockets of time every single day to introduce reading into your life, it really is so fulfilling. I have been able to read books on parenting. I've read books on European culture versus American culture. I have read books on childhood trauma. I have read books on finance. I've read books on morning routines. I've read books on ways to optimize your weekend. Tons of different books with lots of really valuable nuggets of information that I would not have garnered if I was sitting scrolling through Instagram on my phone. Next month's video is going to be talking about how I implemented the habit of consistent budgeting on a monthly basis. If you would like to watch my video talking all about Atomic Habits, go ahead and click on this annotation here. It'll take you directly to that video. I hope you are all doing well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.